Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this felted rose here. It's mainly just to show you how to felt something, and also if you want to make flowers, how to put them on a stem. So mine's still a little damp, but it's what the felting process kind of makes it look like, just really fuzzy. So I'm going to set this to the side. And what you're going to need is you're going to need access to a washing machine. So because when you felt, it needs to be washed in hot water. And then you're going to need some floral tape, which I got this at Walmart. It's like $1 for a roll. It's pretty cheap. And then you're going to need some craft wire. This is 20 gauge. This was right next to the floral tape. 2 pieces of this, and this is if you want to put it on the stem. You don't even have to. You can make the flower and sew it or glue it on something or sew it on something if you want. But that's what you'll need if you want to put it on the stem. And you're going to need a hot glue gun with some hot glue. And the yarn that you're going to need is, well, I used Patton's Classic Wool Worsted. Now what it is, it's 100% pure wool. Now you do not have to, it's a 4-ply weight. Now you don't have to use this yarn, but you need to make sure that you use 100% wool. I found that this brand felts the best. The worsted, either the classic wool or the worsted in the Pattons. I think it felts the best, but if you don't have access to this, you need to make sure whatever you're trying to felt is 100% pure wool. So I used bright red for my flower, and then the only green that they have, it's not really that green, but it's Jade Heather, and that's the color I use for my leaves. But remember, this, you don't have to use this. Just make sure that you're using 100% pure wool or it won't felt. This is the best brand for felting. In my opinion it is, but and of course, but you can use any colors that you want to. And then I'm using a size H, which is a 5mm crochet hook. Now you can make this flower with regular acrylic or cotton yarn and not felt it and put it on the stem. You know, if you want to do that, you don't have to felt it. I'm just showing you how to felt. If you want to do the felting process, you'll have to use the 100% wool, but you can make the flower regular and stick it on a stem like I did. If that's what you want to do, that's fine too. But also don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get started on this. Okay, I'm starting with a chain of 61. Because remember, whenever you felt something, it will get a little bit smaller than what it is when the project's finished. So if you make a rose, you want to make your flower a little larger, or whatever you're felting a little bit larger, because it will shrink a little bit in the washer. Okay, so I chained 61. Now you can chain, if you want to make a flower bigger or smaller like me, any odd number will work. Okay, you want to go ahead and work a single crochet in the second stitch from the hook. Remember, we don't count this one on our hook. So there's our first one. So go into the second one and single crochet. And now I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch for the length of the chain. Just like this. So 1 single all the way to the end of the row. Okay, once you make it to the end of row 1, you should have a total of 60 stitches now. So for row 2, we're going to chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to be working in this very first stitch here. That chain 1 I did does not count as a stitch. It does not count as anything. So we're going to work right back into this first stitch, and we're going to work a V-stitch. So what we're going to do is go right back in that very first one and put a double crochet, and then we're going to chain 2 and then go back again and put another double crochet. just like that. So that's our V-stitch. Now we're going to skip one and put a V-stitch into the next. So skip this one, and in the next stitch we work one double, chain of 2, and another double into the same stitch. And that's what we're going to repeat for row 2. Skip one stitch and V-stitch into the next. So I'm skipping this one, and in the next one I'm going to put a V-stitch, so it's a double crochet, chain 2, and another double crochet. Skip one, V-stitch into the next. So I'm skipping that one, V-stitching into the next. And now we're going to repeat this to the end of the row. Skip one, V-stitch, skip one, V-stitch, all the way till you get to the end. Okay, I'm coming to the end of row 2, and I did my last V-stitch, and I have one stitch left. Just go ahead and double crochet into that last stitch. Don't skip anything, just double crochet right into it. Now at the end of row 2 you should have 30 of these V-stitches, and then of course this one little double crochet on the end. Okay, now row 3 we'll start making the petals. So we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. What we're going to do is, in working in these V-stitch, the chain 2 space to the very first V-stitch, we're going to put 7 double crochets through it. So those 7 double crochets are our petal. So we're going to go right through it and work 7 doubles. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's 7. So now what we're going to do, you see this little space right here in between these 2 V-stitches, this space here, we're going to go right through that space and single crochet right through it, just like that. And now in this next V-stitch space we're going to work our petal again, so we're going to work 7 double crochets right through it. Like that. And again we're going to put our single crochet in this space right between the 2 V-stitches. So just go right through that space and single crochet. And that's what we're going to repeat the whole row. Now it's going to start to get really wavy on you, and that's fine. It's supposed to do that. So if it gets like that, you're not doing anything wrong. So in my next V-stitch here, I'm going to go ahead and work my next petal. So I'm going to work 7 double crochets through it. Just like that. And then I'm going to single crochet into the space in between the 2 V-stitches. So I'm going to repeat this pattern until I get to the end of row 3. Like that, and then single in between the next 2 V-stitches, just like that. And you can see mine starting to get wavy, and it'll get a lot more wavy the more petals you put on. So go ahead and repeat that until you get to the end of the row. Okay, I've made it to the end, and you can see mine is all curly, and that's fine. I did my last petal here in my last V-stitch. Now you want to end by slip stitching into the first double crochet, or this last double crochet here of this last V-stitch. So let's go right into the top of it and slip stitch. Now you want to tie off a long tail for sewing, because we're going to sew this up. So tie off quite a long one, like that. Now you should have 30 petals at the end of that round 3 there, or row 3. So now you want to take your yarn needle and your tail. First thing you want to do is sew in this other small tail, the beginning tail. Just go ahead and get that sewed in and get rid of it. Just kind of weave it in this row, single crochet here. Okay, now go ahead and clip that off. Now we're going to take our long tail that we just left and load it up on your yarn needle. And this is how we're going to sew it together. We're going to sew it together using that single crochet row that we made. So just start twisting it a little bit at a time, like that, and go through the row of single crochets and tie it up. Twist it again, nice and tight. And then go through that row of single crochet again, and then twist it a little bit more, put a stitch right through, twist it again, go through that row of single crochet, and this is what we're going to do the whole way down. Another twist, and then through that row of single crochet, another twist, and you can see it's starting to make a flower. I usually just do like one stitch right through it like that. And I'm going to do this the whole way down, my entire piece here, until I get to the end. And you can always sew it more up at the end, at some loose spots, if you notice any loose spots. So that's what it's starting to look like. So I'm just going to continue doing that until I get to the end here. I just wanted to show you another thing while you're working around sewing it up. You want to just flip it over every once in a while and look at it and make sure that it's looking kind of how you want it to look. You might have to fiddle with it a bit, and then you can flip it back over and then kind of just continue. Just kind of lay it out like that. And go through those rows of single crochet. Like that. Lay it flat. As it gets bigger, you start to have to lay it more flat like that, but still continue to grab this piece and the row of single crochet here. Pull tight. Over. Just like that, and you want to keep doing this until you reach reached the end. I'm almost at the end, so I'll just keep going, I guess. Now you, like I said, you can sew it once you get it all the way done. Here, let me finish this up. You want to go through and make sure there's not any loose spots, so when it goes through the washer that it doesn't come undone. Don't want it coming undone, that won't be cool. Okay, now what I like to do, once I get it straightened out here, take your piece, I go straight from the bottom straight through the center and do a couple of stitches like that, back through, fiddle with it and get it how you want it, go up to the center again and back down. And you just want to go through and make sure there's no weak spots or where it feels like it's kind of loose. And if it does, just go through it and sew it up nice and tight. So I'm going to keep fiddling with mine, finding any loose spots, and then sewing them up, going through them again, so they're not going to come undone on me. And once you feel like you got it pretty good, you can actually also go through the petals too if you want. Like, I'm going to start on this one and kind of go right up through these petals. A few of them anyways. And then back down the petals. And that way the petals will hold set, they'll stay in place too, like that. Okay, once you got your flowers sewed up nice and tight, just you want to make sure you weave your tail in really, really good. That way it doesn't come undone in the washer. So you can set this to the side. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because when it felts, you know, you're not going to see any of the stitches that you sewed it together with or anything. So you can set that to the side. And now I'm going to take my green and I'm going to make a base for the flower. So I'm going to start with a chain 3. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the first chain to form a ring. And then I'm going to chain 1. Now that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. Now I'm going to work 5 single crochets through the center of the ring. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm going to get a stitch marker. I'm just going to use this piece of yarn here, and I'm going to put it right here after this 5th single crochet. That way I know where I begin and where I end. Now I'm going to jump over to the next, or to the first single crochet that we made. Not the chain 1 that we did, but the first single crochet. So I always count back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that one right there. There's the chain 1. So we want to go into the first single, and we're going to put 2 single crochets into that stitch. So there's 1 and 2. And then we're going to put 2 single crochets in every stitch until we get back to our stitch marker. And now when you make it back around there, that's round 2, you should have 10 single crochets. So go ahead and move your stitch marker up like that. And now I'm going to go around again. For round 3, I'm just going to put 1 single crochet into every stitch. So just 1 single in every stitch for round 3. And now you should have 10 stitches again. Go ahead and move your stitch marker up. Round 4, now I'm going to work 2 double crochets in every stitch again for round 4. So 2 into the first one, and then 2 into every one until I make it back to my stitch marker. Now when you make it back to your stitch marker, you should have 20 stitches now at the end of round 4. And then you want to move your stitch marker up. So round 5 and 6, now we're just going to do 1 single crochet in every stitch. So round 5, we're just going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch. When you make it back to the stitch marker, you should have 20 single crochet, and then you want to move your stitch marker up, and for round 6 you want to just do the same thing, 1 single crochet in every stitch. So I'm going to finish this round of 1 single crochet, round 5, and then I'm going to do round 6 of 1 single crochet in every stitch. 20 single crochets at the end of every round. Okay, I've made it to round 6 and I have 20 single crochets, so you can go ahead and move your marker up. Now round 7, what I'm going to do is single crochet into the first single crochet, and then I'm going to do a chain of 4, and then I'm going to single crochet in the second stitch from the hook, and single crochet in the remaining 2 stitches of the chain. Like that. And now I'm going to put 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. And now I'm going to do that again. I'm going to chain 4 and single in the second stitch from the hook, and then 1 single in the remaining 2 stitches of the chain. And then 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. And that's what I'm going to repeat all the way around. Chain 4, single in the second stitch from the hook, 1 single into the remaining 2 stitches of the chain. Oops. Here, I messed up here. Sorry about that. single in the next 2 remaining stitches of the chain, and then 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. Again, chain 4 and repeat. Single in the second stitch from the hook, 1 single in the remaining 2 stitches that are on the hook, and then single crochet into the next 4 stitches. Chain 4, single in the second, and then the remaining stitches of the chain, 2 of them. And then you should have 3 stitches left before you get to your stitch marker. Go ahead and single crochet in those remaining 3 stitches. And then go ahead and end by slip stitching into the next stitch after your single crochet. Leave a long tail to sew. Take that stitch marker out. And this is what it kind of looks like now. So we'll need to sew this on. You want to hide this center tail, that one that we started with. Kind of just weave it around the inside. Pretty good. Now flip it where the right side's facing you. So flip it like that. Now take your tail, your long tail, and we're going to sew it on to the rose. So flip your rose over. And you should have 5 of these little petals. So you just want to take it and kind of sew it onto the rose. Place it wherever you want to put it here to make it look nice. And just kind of go through the bottom of the rose and then back up, so you don't go through the whole rose, so you don't see the green. Now you can sew these on if you want. I'm actually, after it's done felting, if I think that they're sticking out too much, I'll probably put a dab of hot glue on them. But go ahead and get this sewed on nice and tight all the way around the bottom of your rose. Remember not to make it go all the way through your rose so you don't see any green yarn after you felt. So I'm just going to go all the way around the outside and sew mine on. Okay, once you get that sewed on, you want to make sure, I went around it twice around the edges. You want to make sure that it's on good and tight around the edges. These I did not sew on. They're going to shrink up a bit in the washer. So if I don't like the looks of them at the end, I can always put a little dab of hot glue on them. But just make sure that you hide your tail. So that's what it's starting to look like. So you want to set this to the side, and I'm going to make a couple leaves. So I got one made. So how you make the leaf is you want to start with a chain of 12. Now we're going to slip stitch in the second stitch from the hook. Slip stitch. And then 1 single crochet into the next stitch. 1 half double crochet into the next 2 stitches. Half double into the next 2. So there's 1 and 2. 1 double crochet into the next 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to put 1 triple crochet into the next 3 stitches. Just 1, 2, and 3, and you'll have 1 stitch that remains. Now we're going to put 11 triple crochets into that last stitch, 11 of them. And this is what's going to make the bottom fatter. So there's 1, and here is 11. Now we're going to start working on the other side of the chain. So right here, and we're going to put 1 triple crochet into the next 3 stitches. So don't go into this one, go right here into the next stitch and triple crochet. So you want to do the next 3. There's 1, 2, and 3, and then you want to put 1 double crochet into the next 3 stitches. So 1 double, there's 1, 2, and 3. 1 half double into the next 2. So there's 1 and 2. 1 single into this next one, and now we're going to end by slip stitching right over here into this very first stitch, just somewhere right over here. It doesn't have to be exact. Kind of just grab one of these little stitches at the top and then slip stitch right through it, pull tail, and now we're going to hide these tails really good so they don't come undone in the washer. I apologize for my kids being loud back there. They're out there playing. So if you can tell, when you work on both sides of the chain, it kind of gets split in the middle, like right through here. You can see the gaps. That's fine. It'll probably shrink up in the washer, but otherwise I usually take my tail and kind of just, while I'm hiding my tail, just kind of go through there and sew up the little spots too. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, I guess. Hiding your tail and closing up them spots, but I wouldn't worry about them too much because the washer is going to shrink them up a bit, so you probably won't even see the holes. But just in case, we'll do this. You want to make sure both tails are hid really good. Now I did 2 leaves, so you can do as many as you want. But once you get your leaves done, they're ready to go into the washer. I always get really nervous when I felt something, because honestly, you don't know how it's going to turn out. You really don't. So I put them in there. I kind of hid that as I was crocheting, so I'm going to clip that off. I put them in there and I just hope for the best. That's all I do. So you take your 2 leaves and your rows. And what we're going to do is you want to put it on in the washer on hot, your hot cycle. And you want to, usually I throw like a pair of blue jeans or a towel or something in there with them, because it kind of agitates the, when it's washing, agitates the stitches and makes it felt better. And you can put just a little bit of laundry soap if you want to. That's up to you. I usually put just a bit to make it smell better. But remember, it has to be felted, or it has to be washed on your hottest cycle. So run it through the hot cycle with a pair of blue jeans or a towel, a little bit of laundry soap, and then we're gonna pull it out and see what it looks like. So I'm gonna go drop mine in the washer right now, hot, with a pair of jeans or a towel, and then a little laundry soap if you want. It's not necessary, and let it go through the whole cycle, and then we'll see what it looks like. Fingers crossed that it's gonna look good. I'm always so nervous about felting, so I'm gonna go ahead and start mine, and I'll let you know in just a minute what it looks like. Wish me luck. Okay, once you get your piece out of the washer, you can look at it, and if it's not all the way closed up, if your stitches are a little open still, you can run it through the hot washer cycle again if you want. And then once you get it felted to how you want, I always put mine in the dryer on high heat for you know, for about 10 minutes or so, just to get it a little bit dry. It'll still be a little damp when it comes out, but this is kind of what it looks like, and you got to kind of make it pull back into shape. It actually turned out okay, I guess. Pretty good. Like I said, you never really know how it's going to come out when you felt it. And there's my leaves, and here's the bottom. So now what you want to do is take your craft wire. Now this part might be a little tricky, but you want to take it and you want to fold it in half. And you want to poke them through the center of the rows and then come out kind of out the bottom of this piece. It's a little tricky to get these wires through this felted. Takes a little bit of jiggling around through this felted fabric. But I'm just going to do one at a time, I think. To kind of work it through there. It's not going to be the easiest to get it through. Okay, there's one, and I'm going to make it come out the point down here, like that. And now I'm going to do my other one. Kind of jiggle it around until it gets through. Sometimes you might have to switch spots, but make sure it's right here near the center. There we go. And then make it come out the same hole as the other one, if you can. Or near the same spot as the other one. Like that. And pull them through. Pull them nice and tight so you can't see that green wire at the top. Like that. See, now you can't see it. So that's what we got. Now I'm going to twist up this wire a little bit. Like that. Now I'm going to take some hot glue. Okay, I'm going to take my glue and I'm just going to put a little dab of glue on these little green things like we talked about and glue them down. You don't have to do that if you don't want, but I'm just going to do that on all 5 of them here. Burning myself while I'm at it. Okay, now what you want to do is pull your green stem up all the way as far as you can get it, and then twist this wire tied up there. Let me untwist it and then twist it tight up there. Twist it pretty tight. And now what I'm going to do is put a little bit of, push the green part up as far as you can. Put a little hot glue on the wire. And then I'm going to pull my green thing back, this part back down over the hot glue. Like that. That way that'll glue that on. Hold it there for a few seconds. Like that. Okay, now I'm going to twist the wire. I'm going to start putting some tape on it. This tape isn't really matching my color of the yarn I had, but it's the best I had. Just kind of start wrapping it, your wire up with this tape. And when you get down a little bit, we'll add some leaves. Twist this wire up if you want. It makes it easier to tape. Okay, I went down about an inch. So what I'm going to do now is take 2 more pieces of wire. And I'm going to take my leaves. Now I'm going to go at my leaf from the back with the wire. Probably right around the middle of it, like that. And then back down through the bottom, like that. And then pull it up on your wire and bend your wire in half. And then pull your leaf up like that. So there you go. So like that, and then you can twist that in the back, and you want to do both leaves just like that. So like that, like that. Now I'm going to add a leaf on now. So actually I'm going to go down a little bit further first, because the leaves are kind of big. So, but you can add leaves whenever you want. Okay, to add a leaf, you just stick it right on your wire, like that. You can bend it out if you want. I'm going to add another one. Let me wire that one on. Get that one going on there. Go around it a few times. Get it on there really good. Okay. Now you can add another one wherever you want. Add it to the other side if you want. And then continue wrapping your whole piece with this tape. All them wires now. Twist them all together. Okay, I went all the way down my stem with the green tape, and then I went back up it again, and you can keep doing that to make it as thick as you want. And then you want to go around the leaves too. So I went around that one, and all you do is just start the same way. Start your tape. I actually kind of just rip a piece of tape off. It's easier to work with that way. Start up here at the top of the leaf. That's what I do. And work around the leaf stem the same way you worked around the main stem. Don't really like this floral tape. It's weird. It doesn't stick very well. It's like self-sealing, so you have to pinch it while you're using it. about just like this. And then I'll probably go back up the stem again, or back up the sleeve stem again to make the tape pretty thick. Or unless you don't, you know, you can make it take a tape as thick as you want. Go around it like this. And then I'll go back up the stem again, or up the leaf stem to make it a little thicker. So you probably get the gist. And then what I'm going to do is just go up this skinny part again. I'm going to tape this up one more time to make it a little thicker to match the thickness I did down here. So you just keep taping it till you get your stem, you know, as thick as you want it, and make it as neat as possible. But like I said, with this tape, it's not really the easiest to make it neat. I don't think anyways, but I'm not a florist, so I bet it comes natural to a florist to use this tape. Should be able to squeeze it all nice and tight. Okay, now I'm going to go up this little skinny part real quick. Okay, once you get it taped up to your liking, there it is. There's your felted rose. Now, if it's still a little damp and it feels a little heavy, lay it out and let it dry. And once it dries the rest of the way, it'll stand up pretty good on this wire here. But that is it. That's all there is to it. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook too, where you can post all your crochet projects on there. And you can check me out on BagodayCrochet.com also. And until next time, have a good day.